So, I literally just got done watching the first episode of The Mandalorian Season 2, and I have some thoughts. So like with my other videos reviewing a piece of media, I have with me a list of everything we're going to go over, and I'll be doing this for every episode of The Mandalorian from here on out. Now, disclaimer before we start, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to get everything. I'm not going to see everything. I'm not going to pick up on everything. These are just my thoughts on things I found interesting. If you were looking for someone to go over every single scene in the 50-minute episode, there are plenty of others that'll break down each and every scene for you, but I am not that person. Okay? Okay, let's get started. One of the first things I noticed about this episode is the off comment about Beskar. Beskar, of course, being the material of the Mandalorian's armor. So like within the first season, we are given the notion and the context that Beskar itself is becoming increasingly rare, making the price of it go up on things like the black market. Now, you might not think much of this, but knowing that the material is native to and made on the planet of Mandalore, an entire planet essentially made out of the stuff, it makes you wonder how much damage the Empire did during the Great Purge to essentially make an entire material common amongst an entire planet a rare commodity. Maybe I'm just looking too much into this. Beskar itself was already, in general, pretty rare before the Great Purge, at least if you're not on Mandalore. But then again, you would think that since the Empire closed up shop on the Mandalorian homeworld, you would think there would be opportunists that would take advantage of Beskar by wresting control of the planet. I really have no clue, but Beskar isn't the only thing I wanted to touch upon here today, so I'll leave it at that. Now, the next thing I wanted to discuss, the Marshal of Mos Pelgo, Cobb Vanth. Now, a lot of people were probably tricked. They thought that Cobb was Boba when he appeared, but not I. Let it be said here, I did not think for a very second that Boba was in this episode and that he was the mayor or sheriff of Mos Pelgo. And I say this because I read Aftermath, one of the first novels to be released in the new canon for the new canon, and in that book, it briefly brushes upon the fate of Boba and his armor as it passes to the Marshal we see in this episode. But here's the thing, the origin for how the Marshal came upon Boba's armor is told a little different in the book than it is in the show. You see, in the show, Cobb gets his armor after he survived a massacre carried out by a group called the Mining Collective. Alone in the desert, Cobb was picked up by the Jawas, who bartered him the armor of Boba in exchange for a chest of crystals he had stolen from the Collective. He then went back to Mos Pelgo and did as he did, but in the book, that's not how it went. In fact, it was Cobb that actually approached the Mining Collective, which is actually a front for a crime syndicate known as the Red Key Raiders. Now, the Red Key really deserve an entire video dedicated to them, but for the sake of this one, Cobb approaches one of the Red Key's representatives while he sifts through the gathered scavenge of the Jawas, and to put a long story short, Cobb kills the man over a salvaged set of Mandalorian armor and claims to the dying representative that he, Cobb, is bringing law to a lawless land and that the Red Key have no place in it. So like I said, it is very different from how Cobb told it, which might mean one of two things. One, the boring answer, the side plot of Aftermath is being retconned from the new canon, which would kinda suck. Or two, Cobb lied about how he got Boba's armor. Personally, I feel like option 2 is the go-to because Cobb is he's kind of scummy in the books and did a lot of really awful things, so lying about an origin sounds just like what he would do. But maybe you are one of those cynics that think it'll be retconned, so let me just tell you this. Remember, just because something was told differently in the context of the story doesn't make the first telling non-canon. For example, if I said I was now the King of England, that doesn't retcon England's current ruling family. It just makes me look dumb. Also, before we move on from this, a small detail you might have missed. I love how it is only after Cobb takes off his helmet that Din realizes he isn't Mandalorian. You know, because Mandalorians don't take off their armor in public because, you know, that's just how they are. And finally, before we end today's video, boys, girls, may I be one of the many to say it. Boba lives. Boba lives. Boba Fett, the first Mandalorian ever introduced to us in the Star Wars canon, is alive. He is alive, and he was most definitely those pair of feet from Season 1. Maybe. Actually, I'm not so sure about that one. Anyways, this episode was great. I loved it. It was everything I hoped for out of the Mandalorian space western vibe, and I especially loved all the callbacks to Return of the Jedi. So here's hoping every other episode from here on out is as good as this one. And of course, if you have any of your own thoughts, comments, questions, or theories regarding this video, Star Wars, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.